Jester. I think it's called the Jester.
Do you have any data on how many jesters were murdered?
I haven't found anything yet. Just
No murderous
most of
jesters.
them weren't murdered.
No, most of them weren't murdered?
Yeah, so I was saying one of them, the most famous one, I'm reading the story about how and why he was killed, but...
How was he killed?
Yeah, what did they do?
He pushed his luck, it seems like. He asked a question to the king about what if someone tried to kill me, and he's like, don't worry about that. If someone tries to kill you, they'd be killed. The noble would be beheaded in not more than 15 minutes. He responded, why not 15 minutes before?
His reply made sense, but it was not received well.
Yeah, bombed.
At a later date, he pushed his luck once more by physically humiliating the king. After telling some joke, the jester slapped Francis I's royal behind amid roars of laughter from all the court's nobles. The monarch threatened to have him hanged for this unless he could come up with an apology even more offensive than that act. I'm so sorry, Your Majesty, but I didn't recognize you. I mistook you for the queen.
Oh, 2 times.
His wit really was the stuff of legends, but as you may recall, the only people fully off limits from a court jester's mockery were the queen and her ladies in waiting.
I'll be
the
talking
king
about my
decided to
bitches.
kill him despite the deal they made. But given that Triboulet was physically disabled and probably had magical powers, Francis I decided that it would be fair to at least let him choose his way of dying. He did not want to annoy Triboulet too much while killing him. So the jester chose. He told the king, good sire, for Saint Nicho... How do you say that? Nichus's and Saint Penard's sake, patrons of insanity, I choose to die from old age.
Oh.
The joke completely broke through the king's anger, and Triboulet was again allowed to live. He ended up only being exiled from the realm.
They just kicked him out.
Oh.
See, I couldn't find it even... I'm sure they were, but no number, and I didn't get anything yet.
That also sounds like a lot of anecdotal horseshit.
I believe almost none of that, but I like all of it.
I like it too.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe there was a dude that was that funny, got his way out of getting killed.
You gotta know.
Slapped the king's ass, made fun of the wife, and
Right.
still lived.
That's Stan Matejko. That's my
Oh,
favorite.
yeah.
So
that's good.
why this is also so powerful to me truly is if you can see on the right there behind him, in a more clearer version of this, the party is still happening.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just kind of like, this is truly how I feel, where you're like, we just did the gig. You
Decompress.
you just need to just be quiet by yourself.
Does he have notes?
Yes, that's all of his performance notes.
Wow.
1862.
I never thought of jesters as having notes.
Well, they had to prep for shit.
They must have.
But so
Right.
that's Stancic, yeah, Jan Matejko. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm stupid, but
Can you imagine, how do you apprentice?
for a jester.
Yeah, and do you work at someone's house for a little while before they move you up to a court?
I'm sure he's like, hey, man, you got to take my notes for my bits. And he'll probably run bits, you know?
Like those old Catskill comics who just tell old jokes.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and they have somebody who's like, mark down, sometimes when I put my eyes out and I grab my dick, they laugh. So I was like, put that down as a bit of the thing. And there's a young kid who's like, grab the dick and then the eye cross eye on the right side. That had to have been what these guys did because they had to pick people in the... these guys are the original crowd work kings.
Oh, yeah.
This was crowd work at its finest. They'd pick people out at the parties. They'd go back. They'd write some notes about, something they could lay in. Because that was interesting. I feel like I've heard that before, that they said, you can't say anything about the queen. You can say anything about anybody else. The queen and any of her crew, you're not allowed to say shit about. But everyone else is like, oh, fuck them all. Fuck everybody. Like... The king would be like, the most powerful man, fuck him.
So, kill the messenger, from what I'm reading,
comes
from jesters being killed in battlefields because they were, the masters made them carry the messages to the other leaders.
Great.
And sometimes they were then killed.
Jesters were often required to go to battlefield with their masters to carry messages between the leaders of warring armies, demanding that a city surrender to a besieging army or delivering the terms for the release of hostages. Unfortunately for jesters, the enemy did sometimes kill the messenger as an act of defiance, especially if they regarded the terms being offered as an insult. And some used a catapult or a trebuchet to hurl the unfortunate messenger or his severed head back into his own camp as a graphic illustration of what they thought of the message.
Dude, can you imagine a trebuchet, fucking a huge human catapult, but just you're chilling with your boys and your old boy's head comes
Yeah, I told them to go tell them to go fuck themselves.
Nice. He said go fuck himself. I guess they fucked him.
Give me all your women and all your gold and we're good. Then a fucking head comes
But
flying
that's
into the
how
windshield.
sometimes that cruel and unusual punishment shit that they would do from years ago, like some of it was like grossly funny. It's still gross, but it's like that's hilarious to be like cut his head off, throw it back at those guys.
Yeah.
And they would just load it up in a catapult, fucking huck it at your friends.
The psychological aspect of a fucking head flying over the
Deep.
wall of the castle.
It's a deep cut. You think anybody laughed? You think of the crew, you think one guy was like,
They're probably used to it.
yeah.
They're probably used to people getting their heads chopped off. I mean, back then people fought with swords.
People died every day that someone you
Every
knew someone
day.
was dying.
And probably in the streets, people are getting stabbed left and right because, like,
Yeah.
life and death was probably so cheap.
Just it was a commonplace where you're like, yeah, he died. Big deal.
Yeah, he got cut up.
It happens.
Yeah, they sliced his arms off.
What are you gonna do?
The Mongols would light people on fire and then use their bodies to light buildings on fire with catapults.
I thought you were gonna say for warmth. Did they ever light people on just to
Sure,
warm up?
they did.
Like it's
They
cold.
probably did whatever they wanted to.
Like, man, I'm freezing. Burn Nick.
If you could imagine horrific ways that people died, that one of the things they did was the way they would kill royals is they wouldn't kill them like they would kill like regular people. So they would put them sometimes, they would stack them and then put boards over the top of them and then eat dinner on top of them and crush them to death.
Shut up.
Yeah.
They used you as a table.
They
You were a
used
little
as
side table.
You were the thing under the table.
That's
So
awful.
they built like a whole structure over you. And then everybody would like lay the tables out and all the food out, and then all the people would walk onto it, and then they'd just crush you.
The visual is funny. I know it's terrible, but it's just funny.
It's fucking
It's
dark.
fucking
man.
dark, dude. Yeah.
That's not that long ago that people did that to people.
No.
It's not that long ago.
No. But the reasoning has changed so heavily. It's funny, you know, technology, they say it's like, it jumps like, you know, it's like the fastest moving thing we have. It's technology continually just like
Yeah.
overleaping itself. Think about giving us a little bit of credit as a society, as people, that we're pretty good to a degree at times changing our ways of like, we can't do that shit
For the
anymore.
most part.
Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind
Definitely a lot better.
well, it's only going to